was gliding over this school. That's how it began, this particular beyond body shifting experience. The school kind of reminded me of my high school in a way, but it was somehow different. There were a group of ladies that were walking, and I happened to be in flight. There are some realities where flight is possible, and that is always, always amazing to me. It's one of the things I always like to kind of discover when I get to a reality. Is flight possible? So as I was gliding, I saw these ladies and I started to descend, and I got to the point where I was kind of hovering over them. I wasn't too far above them, and when they looked up, they weren't in shock. It wasn't like, this was something like that was surprising to them, perhaps. Perhaps in this reality, that's, flight is not a big deal. Maybe there are beings that can do it. Perhaps there are beings that can't. I'm not sure. But I remember I reached down and I took the hand of one of the young ladies and I pulled her up into the air. And I think I pulled her, I don't know, probably, maybe 10, 15 feet into the air. And then I lowered her very carefully, lowered her. But one of the reasons why I knew that this wasn't astral projection was because I could feel her weight. She was heavy. It was heavy, very heavy to pull her into the air. And, since in that particular reality, I wasn't Superman. I could feel her weight. I was able to pull it up, but I could definitely feel it. And I lowered her, and then I returned after this. Now, I recounted this story for you because I wanted to talk about the significance of going to random realities and how opening your minds and maybe not being so focused at first on going to a desired reality where you want to go. And by the way, I also want to include astral projectors in here. Not being so focused on going specifically to a place at first, but instead exploring and also reaching out to your guides, of course, to help you, which was a major breakthrough for me. But the ability to go to these random places, for me, it has been amazing because there is always, for me, a new a new discovery. I mean, one of the things I love to do when I go to random realities, and this is one of the reasons why I really like it, is because, well, I don't know what I'm going to encounter. I mean, I don't know what beings I'm going to encounter. I don't know, the other thing I really love to do in these random realities is to try and discover whether I can fly in this place. It's one of the challenges. I always think to myself, the first thing I think nowadays when I go to a different reality is, can I fly in this reality? Is it possible? Because I posted this experience. I had an experience where I went out, I was walking, I arrived in this particular reality. I went outside this area. I was in, I don't remember where I was exactly before when I was coming out. I think I was just, I had traveled and done my movements and everything like that. And I was simply walking at that point. After I'd finished my movements and after the darkness lifted, I was coming out of this sort of building. And I remember thinking to myself, okay, I'm gonna fly. And I remember I jumped up in the air and I came right back down to my feet. And I was like, oh, I can't fly here. And I remember that not long after that, I switched realities pretty quickly and I went to another one, another reality. And I think I could probably fly there. But what I guess I realized was that when it comes to shifting, anyways, you can go to different places. I have gone to different places where the laws of physics are, different in a sense. I mean, you can fly. I remember going to the place where I was in a theater and there was a screen of water. It was water and it was suspended, and it was like the screen you might see at the movie theater, and it was suspended in midair. And it was not only a screen, but it was also a partition between the movie theater and a restaurant on the other side where people were eating. It was one of the more interesting realities I have visited. And in that place, I didn't see a source for the water, and I had no idea how the water was able to be suspended in midair or floating in midair and keep its form and its shape. It was quite amazing. But right now, I think by even telling you about this, about the theater and about going to different places where I can fly, this is why I love these different realities, because I discover things. It's not just like I'm, going to a DR where, maybe I know people talk about scripting certain things and scripting certain things out. And my thought is I want to get in there and discover realities where, I don't necessarily know exactly what's going to happen. To me, that is interesting. And for those of you who are struggling to get into the shifting thing, taking away, because I'm talking about folks that haven't shifted yet, the people who aren't or are having issues with it, haven't been able to achieve it. And perhaps you are going through all these details where you're scripting certain things, and this is what, in your mind, in your heart, you're thinking to yourself, this is what I want my desired reality to be. But instead of going through all that planning and all those other things, which I think it could, especially in the beginning, before you really perhaps gained the ability to shift or to do this, it could be a sort of thing where you're thinking about it, your mind is in it, and it may be distracting you from the actual shifting itself. Now, I'm not saying that would be with everybody. Perhaps there are people who can come up with this kind of thing where they come up with their DR and things like that, and they're able to immediately shift to it. But this is my thing. If you approach this with an open mind and you're just like, this is so simple. I just want to shift. I don't know exactly where I'm going to end up, but I want to shift to a place, regardless of what the place is. Obviously, you don't want to go to a place that's dangerous or scary, and so you don't want to do that sort of thing. And I've never had that problem. I've been going to these random realities, and I have gone to some places that have been kind of interesting. People haven't always been nice and pleasant. I'm thinking of a couple of places where I've tried to talk to people in these places, and they either ignore me or they kind of give me this look, and that has happened too, if I'm being completely open and honest with you. But the vast majority of the places I have been to, the people, the beings that I have met have been genuinely curious about us. I mean, genuinely curious and wanting to ask questions. So I end up in these realities, and perhaps they're not as random as I may believe they are, by the way, guys. They may not be, because on some different level, because we are expansive beings, right? We're more than our 3D selves. So there's a lot of stuff going on with me and with you that we're not thinking of in our heads at this very moment. There are an infinite number of aspects of us that are out there, and perhaps some aspect of me planned some of these meetings beforehand, and I went and did that. And I would think that more than likely there's someone that is listening to the sound of my voice where perhaps there are aspects of them planning things as well for them, planning trips to go to. And that's the other thing. I want you to always remember that you're so much more. And that even though you may not be shifting or astral projecting in the moment, there may be plans to do that in the near future or the future in general. That's a possibility. I know a lot of people will get frustrated with it, and I've always been very upfront and honest with this situation. I know that there are a lot of people, especially in the shifting community. I don't see this as much in the astral projection community, but in the shifting community, that will tell you you'll get there, it's not difficult, all of these different things. Look, my thought is, I'm not saying you're not going to get there, right? I'm not saying that. But, and I've said this before, it's not easy. It's not easy to achieve this. Anything worth achieving usually is not easy to do, And so I also thought it was important to say that. But focus perhaps on just wanting to go someplace cool. One of the things, maybe you can use this as a way to let those around you, because everybody has those beings, I think, around them that help them and that assist them. Perhaps saying something very general like, hey, take me someplace cool. These beings around us, they know all this stuff. We're in the 3D world. We're dealing with our lives here and learning and things like that, and doing basically our job here to, take things in, to learn the things that we want to learn. And, those other beings, the beings that are aspects of us and that are around us, that are helping us, they know the landscape, both with shifting and with astral projection. It's interesting because I tell you, the first major breakthrough I had in astral projection was when I came out of my body, and instead of just kind of flying around and going somewhere, I spoke to my guides in my thoughts. I sent thoughts out there that said, hey guys, take me someplace cool, something very simple. And that's something you might want to try and put out there. Just take me someplace cool. Just take me someplace, that would be really cool. And you might be surprised that if you left it open like that and you just said, I want to go someplace cool, you might end up maybe in a similar place. Because when I did that, when I had that thought, they ended up taking me, to this planet that looked very similar to Earth. And I've told this story multiple times, or this experience multiple times, where I was floating or orbiting a planet that looked very similar to Earth. And I saw these giant spheres, and these spheres ended up being houses that were orbiting the planet with living rooms and everything. It was astonishing. And I tell you, if you are willing to open yourselves up to going to random places, you might discover some really amazing things. Anyway, thank you so much for coming on this Sunday journey with me. I think I usually say, welcome to Sunday. I don't think I did it this time. Welcome to Sunday. I'm saying this at the end. Until next time, take care.